Believe it or not, water in the Southwest can be a big problem. In today's episode, we're going to talk about water issues and more. Stay tuned. The Den, powered by the Lions Group, a show that explores trending topics in real estate, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. We're a small team of professionals with over $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 successful transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to The Den. Today, we're going to purge the spirits of the water demons that come into my life and flood, and pipes break, and refrigerators leak. And, I know why people don't want basements, because we have this awesome basement, and dang, any water that we don't want going somewhere goes somewhere, and it ends up in the basement. And then we're having to patch stuff and pull out sheetrock and, move furniture and stuff like that. If it was a crawl space, you'd never know. You'd never care, right? Who's going to get down there and check? So,
just a mold remediation,
right? Yeah, that's when you notice.
What's that smell? So yes, Ben, the crooked plumber. I have had issues with plumbing over the years, but today is all about water, roof water. We've got flooding happening right now. We've got a lot of rains coming in. We're welcoming the moisture. But Aspen, kick us off in southern Colorado. In southern Colorado right now, we're getting a ton of rain. And what's going on up there? Fill us in.
Yeah, so right now in Pagosa Springs, it's actually a lot better today, but they are expecting another 4 inches of rise in the river, but it went back down. So in, 12 hours, the river rose 20 feet?
It was crazy.
20, 30 feet. It was crazy. So I don't know if people are very familiar with Pagosa Springs, but there's a hot springs there and it's on the river, but then it's layers up. And the one that's at the very top, where the pool is and where the check-in is, it's actually pretty high up there. And there's a 20-foot bridge to get across into the other part of town. The water was up to the top of that. It was up at the check-in area, basically. Everything was underwater. And sometimes when the river rises, there are river springs, those will get covered. That does happen almost every year. But this, I've never seen water like that. And in Vicedo, it is in people's yards, all the ditches and rivers and everything just rose so much. Luckily, it is a very, there's a lot of elevation in that area. So it is easy to go to a higher elevation. And they were able to know it was going to happen in time, and they evacuated everybody, and there was no casualties or injuries. Everyone got out and listened to the first responders, and now it's back down, and they're working on fixing. But there was hot tubs floating down the river.
I saw
trees
that.
falling.
Yeah.
That was actually one of our friends' hot tubs.
Really?
Yeah, floating down the river.
Bummer.
Yeah. I was like, well, at least you're not sitting in it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I did see a reel, and this lady was panning and showing Pagosa Springs, and she was panning and seeing just all the floods. And then there was a lady and a young girl sitting in the hot tub, one of the higher up.
I saw that too. I was like, why are they not shutting that down? You would think.
Yeah.
Right. No, I saw a bunch of people in the hot tubs. I was like, what are you, in the very high ones? I'm like, I don't think I would be there.
Yeah.
Just also in case stuff gets washed out or something. Right.
Yeah.
Was my thought.
Sure.
I don't know.
We've got a good front row seat to all the destruction then.
And I'm so worried about mudslides, and my parents live right at the bottom of 250. And there have been mudslides, not in the area they're in, but on the other side of the mountain. And my kids stay up there. And I was like, my mom called me the next day. She's like, we're here. Didn't get washed away. She's like, most rain I've ever seen. She's like, and we're still here. So I was like, I was just talking to Bryson the night before that if my kids were staying the night at my parents' house, I would have gone up and got them because I'm so stressed about mudslides.
Yeah, because you have those fires, Mission Ridge and
that's where they are. They're in Missionary Ridge.
Yeah. And after the fires, you get a big rain, and I mean, the floods happen at that point. I wonder why. What's the deal with fires? And then is it because it burns all the...
Well, it destabilizes the ground.
The undergrowth. Yeah, it holds the roots that hold.
Yeah, because the roots all burn too. So even if you think those fires, I saw a video once where they were showing that just because the fire's out on top, they were able to go underneath to see, and all the roots were still on fire.
That's what happened in the Palisades fire.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, that's what they believe happened.
Mm-hmm.
For a week.
Mm-hmm.
Then
it just
popped up
smolders
over
underground.
There. Yeah.
That's crazy. So we used to, we had a big, 200-year flood I would say about 10, 12 years ago. And we actually drove down and watched the flood come down the Arroyo in Chokecherry Canyon. And it was incredible. Like when my father-in-law used to be in oil and gas, and Paul, you've been there, when they talk about arroyos flooding and swallowing cars.
Yeah, flash floods are scary.
It was no joke. I was like, okay, I get it. I understand now. It would swallow an entire vehicle or many vehicles all at once. Have you ever seen that out in the field, Paul?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 5 Mile Bridge out on Largo. We've seen a lot of vehicles get swallowed up by that wash.
That's crazy. How quickly or?
Oh yeah. I mean, you start going across because it's usually hard. And then as the water starts, the ground gets softer. So you start to sink. And then as that wall of water comes in, I've seen water trucks get swallowed up in a matter of minutes.
That's incredible.
Those are big trucks. And you talk about Chokecherry. I saw that on Friday. That was probably 30 feet across and getting it.
Yeah. So don't drive across.
No, even
arroyos.
Like 4 or 6 inches of water can knock your car off too.
Well,
it doesn't take that much water.
Yeah. Friday morning, I was going up La Plata right at the start of all the rain. And I hit a spot where there was about 6 inches of water. I was going about 30 miles an hour, and it did some stuff to the truck.
It feels like hitting a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all that water is over your windshield and you can't see.
Yeah. Hydroplaning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is one of the things about living in the Southwest is that our land does not absorb the water as much. So there are, those natural arroyos that carry that water. In fact, when we went out to Page, Arizona, we did the slot canyons like Antelope Canyon and whatnot. And they were telling me there was a mile canyon that we went through. And they said when there's flash floods, there's a 40-foot tall wave of water that goes through that entire canyon in like 15 seconds. I mean, if you are in the canyon, you are toast.
Right.
I was going to actually mention Moab because Moab is a place where people love. I don't think I would ever live in Moab because of like the flash floods and because it is literally all high desert. And it's not high desert like here where it's, the elevation with the mountains. It's like, it's like mainly canyons. So Moab makes me nervous especially with how many more people have been moving there recently. Flash flooding is scary if it's not something you're used to. And that's really kind of the only natural disaster we have here.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while we'll get a little twister, but not very rare to have a tornado.
Just stay out of the arroyos and get a higher elevation. You're normally fine.
No earthquakes or anything like that. Unless Paul's gone to his favorite burrito shop.
We also don't get that much rain.
Oh, now we're in it. But let's circle that back to like real estate. How does that affect your property insurance? Are your parents paying a premium for that?
No, they pay for fire insurance though.
That's probably the bigger thing.
Yeah, they don't need flood insurance. They're like on the mountain. Even in Vicedo, I don't think any of those had, because I just sold one of the houses that is actually flooded. I had just sold it a few years ago and they didn't have flood insurance, but they did have fire insurance on it. Flood insurance just isn't super common unless you're like right on the river.
Yeah. And it's usually mandated. FEMA maps. FEMA maps. What about
some arroyos in town too?
Yeah, there are arroyos. Yeah. Gosh, through the country club and some of those other areas. We had that big 200-year flood.
Yeah. Crestwood Estates.
It exposed all those. You remember that? It kind of tore up some areas and they had to put in some retention ponds. One of the things I tell people is that when they build or they're adding something and you're out on your parcel, people, especially that have bigger parcels, do not mess with natural arroyos. Like they're there for a reason. How many years have they been there? Hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And now you're diverting water because you want a storage shed to go there. I mean, that is a problem that people create on themselves. If there's a natural arroyo there, try to respect the arroyo and don't divert the water. Have you seen any issues with that, Paul, and home inspections and whatnot?
With water diversion?
Yeah, water diversion.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you see?
Well, one of the things that we would check is site grading. So if the ground goes back towards the house, usually you can see it in the crawl spaces. water diverting away from the house is probably the best thing you can do for the house. All the material on the house is designed to keep water out of the interior. But if all the water comes back to the house, like we're talking about grading of the ground, that's probably the biggest problem that you'll have. And then when you have your roof structure, you have your gutters and everything, and then what they do is they put the downspout and they drop it right next to the foundation. That's not good either. So water diversion away from the house is key.
Yeah, so you carry all that water off your roof, you get it centralized to a downspout, and it goes straight down next to your foundation.
Yeah, stupid.
Which does exactly what you don't want it to do.
This house that I've listed in Durango right now, that was what they were thinking of, was like snow and water diversion. So they put all the gutters where they go down through like the ground and then out like under the driveway. They have roof dams everywhere and then snow heaters on the roofs as well. So it like drips off and then on one side of it, they have it where there's nothing. So the snow will just dump off. And then they have it sloped away from the house, the sidewalk. And then they have a drain out there that goes again out like into the yard.
Mm-hmm. That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. If you're going to redo your house, that's the things you need to think about. Yeah.
I sold a house out in Aztec that has the whole lot slopes down towards the highway, and their house is in the middle. And they had all the water diversion. They had the French drains. They had the driveway was sloped. They had, scuppers along the sides. They had, all the gullies, culverts, everything. They did not want water at their house.
Yeah.
If you engineer it correctly, I mean, the ground will do all the work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And that's what we did when we built our houses. We piped our gutters directly into drain lines that run all the way out to the street and gravity feed to the street. And they just kind of like pop up. So when you have big rains, you'll see those heads pop up and water kind of flows out, and just keeping it away. Because, here, if you get water next to your foundation quite a bit, you can have expansive soils. And now all of a sudden you're getting settling and whatnot. What's really weird, back in like Oklahoma and stuff, actually, if the ground dries up, it's like the opposite, because they're so wet out there. You can have issues with your foundation. So water, big deal.
Hi, I'm Paul Berry, a partner at the Lions Group. We're dedicated to making your real estate experience the best it can be. If you're looking to buy or sell, go to sjcbroker.com and watch our informational video series. These videos break down the process of buying and selling. While you're there, schedule a private consultation with one of our partners. We'd love to sit down and talk strategy and give you a real advantage in today's market. You deserve the best, so take those steps, and we'll see you soon. Now back to the show.
Shannon, what do you think about when you think of water, houses? What's your biggest red flag, or what are some of the biggest things that you think of that homeowners should be doing to protect themselves?
Well, my ideas were kind of what we've already touched on. The negative grade to the house, that's always the first thing to look at, is try to make sure that your ground level isn't sloping back to the house where, when you have water, it's sitting and pooling up against the house. Guttering is very important. We just talked about that. I have had a few clients that just kind of have gone out and done, just a little bit of trenching around their house. So, like you say, you just let the ground do its job, so when it falls, it just kind of runs. It's always going to go down to the lowest point. So create a lowest point that makes it diverted away from the house. I think anything you can do about that. I think also keeping those gutters clean, because another problem is that they get clogged up with a lot of leaves. The leaves come in or debris, and then once they're clogged and it won't go down and it won't go out, then it's just spilling back, upwards, which is either going up on your roof if you've got a flat roof, or if you have a pitched roof, it's just running over and just falling right there at the house. So you're not having those things in place don't matter if you don't maintain them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, one of our neighbors was talking to my father-in-law. He said, "Hey, did you see me out on the roof?" And my father's like, "No, what are you doing up there?" And he goes, "Well, I didn't know this, but pine needles had built up. It looks like a flat top. So when you look at a Southwestern style home, obviously it looks like it's flat on top, but it's really not. You have a fake kind of parapet wall that goes down to what is a built-up roof. And a built-up roof has a slope, and the slope goes to what we call scuppers or canales that allow the water to drain out the side of the roof. Well, those filled up with pine needles, and he had no idea. So he had a huge
Swimming
lake
pool.
on top of his
Mhm.
in his garage roof, and next thing you know, he had water coming through everywhere in his garage. And so, to your point, clean out your gutters, get up, take a look at your roof every once in a while, especially if you have a flat top or a built up roof. Those things are
Well, even a tar and gravel roof, the gravel's up there for ballast to keep the roof down. But what happens is over time, as the water builds up on the roof, it moves those rocks around and they get stuck in the canales. So that's one thing to look at too.
yeah.
And I think a lot of times, we talk about getting the water away from the house, and it's not always practical. If you have an area where your gutter maybe runs down and you don't want a big long pipe like across your driveway or your walkway or something like that, something to consider is putting your downspouts in an area where you can have a rain barrel, and then you're not even trying to divert it away from the house. You're just capturing that, and you can use it for watering your lawn or anything that you want at another time. But then that water's just not even coming down, and that is just extra water that's not coming anywhere that you're trying to do something with.
Yeah. You can use it later, because in New Mexico, we know, and it rains hard for 20, 30 minutes, and then maybe a little drizzle after that, or it goes right back to being sunny. What about some of the things you see, Paul, as far as like plumbing is concerned, that can be things that owners should be sensitive to? Like if rust build up on your hot water heater, is that something to be concerned about? Or mineral buildup? You see that quite a bit. So.
It can. That's evidence of a leak. It doesn't necessarily. The more corrosion you get on those fittings, usually the less likely it'll leak because it's already built up around it.
Interesting.
But I would say that it is indicative of a past leak, so you should probably get it looked at. One of the things we see in Crawlspace quite a bit is plumbing leaks from the bathrooms, the tub drains, those types of things. And what it does, it gets to the floorboards. And as it starts dripping on the floorboards, you think, well, it's just a little bit of water. Water and wood takes time to get wood rot, to get those types of things. But mold will start to grow. I've seen a lot of homes that have a drip in the bathroom, and then the floor starts getting real soft. You ever see that?
Yeah, I have.
When you go underneath and look at it, and you're like, well, I can't even believe it held me when I was standing up there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I'll go to the crawl space first, see what parts of the house are safe. Because I've had some that the whole thing looks just like it's been wet for years.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. So if you have an issue in your plumbing, get it looked at immediately.
Yeah. Well, what is let's just say you have a house and you have no idea that your shower pan's leaking. I mean, should you is it once a year, once every couple of years? Should you have
to get in the crawl space?
Yeah, get down there and take a look.
Once a year, twice a year.
Just get down there and kind of poke around a bit, or maybe hire someone to come down, or
well, you can go and
don't call me on that.
If you have a problem, call somebody.
Yeah.
But the best thing to do is to take a look under there, see if the other thing we've talked about is water next to the foundation. So when you go in the crawl space, not only look for plumbing leaks, but look for if you're watering close to your house, that water will continue to, water finds the path of least resistance, just like anything else. So it'll go right down that foundation wall where the soil is touching the foundation wall. It'll just go down there, and then we'll try to go into the concrete blocks.
So like all the landscaping you put in next to your house, all the shrubs, the bushes, the grass. So when you did, Aspen, you redid your yard, but you did your planters out against your fence.
Mm-hmm. We have concrete around our house, and then we have rocks. We don't have any in our front yard. We have 3 shrubs right on the house, but they don't require watering. So we don't have any water near the house. One thing I was going to mention is, because at this house, I've had some water issues more so than at some of the other houses I've had. But even if you have, water is something you can kind of hear. If something sounds weird, that's whenever I think you should kind of start looking into it. I had a loose water spigot on the front of my house. And whenever we turned it on, water was still coming out of the hose, but I could hear it going back into the crawl space. So we got someone out there, and it was an easy, cheap fix, but it could have been a really expensive, big problem later down the line. So just listening if something sounds weird. We had the same thing at one of our rentals. It sounded like a shower was kind of going back into the wall, and it was. So if you kind of just hear something off, just get someone out there to check it and just address it right away.
Yeah.
It does makes it a lot easier.
It's taken me a lot of years to listen to my wife. Because she's usually right. And so I'm like, I'm a slow learner. What can I say? But anyways, she's always like, hey, I hear something. I'm like, really? No. And so when we first got married, it was like, there's something leaking. I'm like, no. The next morning I go out and like our tile's all soaked. And sure enough, the thing leaked in the back. Then she's like, I hear like a hissing, and I'm like, what? No. And then there's, something happens and there's another plumbing leak. Then she's like, I smell gas. I'm like, okay, we're calling the fire department right now. So after a few of those, I started learning, but we had this, I think hearing is important because in our house now, she's like, I hear this dripping. And I'm like, really? So now I'm attuned to what she said. I'm like, okay, really? Let's snake this out. And sure enough, we had dripping into our gas log fireplace. And I'm like, that's not normal. Like we shouldn't have dripping there. Well, come to find out, we had a roofer that was up there, but we had some side blowing rain, which is really unusual. And that got underneath the cap of that vent and was dripping water. But we heard it and we knew. And so we listened for the next rain. Didn't happen again. But I think you can hear those. I mean,
I think you can too. Yeah. I like a really quiet house too. Like if the kids aren't home, Bryson's at home. So I feel like I can really hear. We had a roof leak and I could hear it dripping, just like hitting our wood floor. And I was like, that's how I've caught most of the leaks. We did have one leak when we first moved in. My daughter took a shower and first day we moved in. And I look up in my bedroom because her room's right above and water is just pouring out of our light.
Yeah.
Our light socket. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And it was just same thing, just a loose fitting. Things just get loose. And then it was easy, quick fix. But
one of the things that we see the most of is houses with evaporative coolers.
I was about to say the roof.
And and like I said, water and time is what's going to deteriorate the decking on the roof. So if you allow your swamp cooler to leak or overflow and leak out all year, you're going to end up needing to replace shingles, decking, all that stuff. And that's probably the thing that we see the most water damage in homes is from swamp coolers.
Swamp cooler. So the swamp cooler sits up there. And for those who aren't familiar with the swamp cooler, it's basically a box with a blower in there. And then they have these what they call spider lines that go up and they wet these pads down and the water kind of trickles into a pan. And in order to stop it from overflowing, they have a float. And that float will rise up and it'll, stop the water. Well, oftentimes those things become rusted and they get stuck in position. So it just continues to cycle the water through. And that's what you're talking about, right, Paul? So then it overflows onto your roof and it may not be a lot of water. It's just kind of a constant drop or drip or.
Yeah. Well, in the way shingle roofs, and usually it's on the shingle roof that this happens. So the shingles, they overlap each other like that.
Yeah.
But if they stay wet the entire time, they start wicking back and they'll get to the underlayment of the roof. And that's where you start to get the damage.
The water climbs up the cellulose fibers.
Whoa.
What's that process called?
I don't know.
Capillarity.
Okay.
Capillarity. Dang. Shannon.
We're not worried.
Let's just be
Way
quiet.
smarter than we are.
Let's just remain quiet and stare. People think you're smarter when you don't talk.
Right.
Yeah. So I talk too much.
I should try that. Just not talk for a little bit.
Then they think you're mad.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Can't win.
Nope. The RBF. You got the RBF.
I can't help it. It's just my face.
Something else to think about with the flooding and natural water that we have outside is, we think about what it's going to do to the house, but we also don't really think about what it's going to do to the grounds outside. You start getting areas that get washed away, or you start getting, landscape and stuff that's getting weaker. And that's when you start finding trees that'll fall over and stuff. So you sometimes end up with some secondary things where the water didn't really hurt the house, but the water caused issues on the property that could be some serious damage.
Yeah. So living out on the ranch, Shannon, what are you doing to prevent water, or what are some of the issues that come up out there living more rural?
Well, we have an arroyo that goes right down the side of our house. And we've only had last year when we had that really bad storm that we really had any issues around there. But because it just took out so many trees down there and then it got clogged and it was going everywhere. We were lucky though. Our house kind of sits a little bit higher than everything. So, when you walk out, everything kind of goes down. So the house was fine. The only problem was I went out to show property that day, and I leave my back door open for my dogs. And that you were talking about the sideways rain. We literally had rain that went sideways. And when I got home, it had, I don't even know how it did it, because we even have an overhang on the patio. So for some reason, it was able to sideways just come all into my house, which was insane. But we've got the French drains too. And I noticed yesterday, because one of them I could tell was clogged. And I noticed yesterday, that the ground just out by the chickens had just blown out. The pipe is sitting there, and it's a huge blown out area. So it had rained so much, it finally just cleaned it out, which thank goodness it did. We don't really take any precautions. I mean, the animals have shelter, and, the hayfield looks great right now. It's getting a lot of rain. So that's good. And we're not having to irrigate. The house is a little bit higher than everything. I feel like we're pretty established, and we haven't really had big issues where we're at. We do have some large trees in our yard, but they don't seem to be, they're so large that they kind of canopy the roots. They kind of canopy the actual lawn underneath up against the house. Mm-hmm. So it's not really wet there. It's wet everywhere around the house.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Right there is dry. So I haven't really worried about the trees. We just really haven't had a whole lot of problems at our place, but it's a 70-year-old property. So, obviously
it's weathered some.
Well, it's been their family 70 years. I should say it's probably older than that, but they've done things over the years that we don't really seem to be having any trouble. Thank goodness.
Yeah. It's weathered some weather over the years for sure.
Yeah. If you keep up with maintenance too, stuff, if you put the systems in place and then keep up with maintenance, that's kind of what we're getting at the whole time with everything we say is just keep up with it, because then it doesn't become a big issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're
doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing to keep it diverted away from your house, you probably aren't going to have a big problem, no matter how much rain comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't take a lot. It's just a little bit, over time, a little bit here, cleaning up there, noticing a low spot, filling that in or whatever else. Who wants to take a stab at what a French drain is? We got 1 minute left. Paul, you want to explain to our audience what a French drain is?
No.
Okay. Shannon, back to you.
Well, basically, they're the drains that will go, from your guttering system or wherever your water diversion is under the ground into, whether it's going out somewhere or going into, the sewer system or going into a container or going somewhere.
Yeah.
But kind of like a drainage system.
Yeah.
It's going to take it from the house out somewhere else.
And they're perforated PVC typically, right?
It's
like a leach field.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a leach field.
Yep.
But it's usually a solid piece that takes the water away from your house. Usually it's filled with gravel. And then after a while it does that perforated PVC.
Yeah. Well, that is awesome. It's fascinating. There's a lot of things you can do to protect your home from water. And there's a lot of things to pay attention to. Don't cross arroyos. Even with 4 to 6 inches of water can be dangerous here in the Southwest. And we love and welcome the moisture, but we just hope that everyone's safe out there and take care of your property. If you're noticing something that needs attention, get right on it. Don't let that build up. Clean out your gutters, clean out your scuppers and your canales, and make sure you don't end up like me, a crooked plumber in your past. So anyways, great discussion. Thank you everyone for chiming in there. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to sjcbroker.com and check out our latest videos. You can also schedule an appointment with any one of the partners here at the Lions Group. We'd love to sit down with you, whether you're buying or selling. In today's market, we can give you an advantage. So thank you for listening to this episode of The Den. Until next time, we'll see you then. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Den, powered by the Lions Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed and check the show notes below for direct links to our buyer and seller video series. The buyer and seller video series can give you an inside track on taking the right steps in real estate. If you'd like to learn more about the Lions Group or to schedule a consultation, go to sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lions Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in the Den.